It's Tuesday, the 20th of October, and we're talking about halachas pertaining to the meal in our halacha review here at Kehilat Sharei Torah. So we spoke about the saying Divrei Torah. Now let's talk about standing or sitting on a table. Sefer Chassidim from Rabbi Judah the Pious in Germany in about the 12th century or so, 13th century, says that one should not place his child on a table or sit on a table where other people learn. Other authorities take it a step further and say you should not sit or stand on a table that's used for eating because the table is comparable to the altar in the temple, the Mizbeach, and one should show honor to the table, Yosef, Ometz, and so on. It seems that many people rely on the lenient view, says Rabbi Belsky. A number of opinions about this. If anybody wants to have a conversation with me about that, happy to discuss. What about leaving empty bottles on the table? It's not honorable, therefore they should be removed, says Sharei Tshuva, Ben Ishchai on Parshas Bechukosai, Mishnah Brura, Aruch HaShulchan, Kaf HaChaim, Tamim Menhagim, Darchei Chaim V'Shalom, and Rivavos Ephraim. No empty bottles on the table, you heard it here. They should be taken away. Cups that you intend to use may remain on the table. So in other words, you finish your glass of drink, whatever it is, and you put it down on the table. You're going to ask for someone to pour you more water. No problem to leave that on the table. We're talking about bottles that are not going to be reused. All leftover food should be removed before benching. Others I have heard say that if you leave some of the bones on the table, you should probably cover them over with a napkin. Some of the chicken bones, then you are elevating those bones also because they're still on the table when Birkat Hamazon is said. One is not allowed to kill insects on the table, as this is not an honor to the table, says Sefer Chassidim, Magen Avram, Shulchan Aruch Harav, Sha'ar Tzion, and Aruch HaShulchan. So escort the bugs outside. Just tell them you have something to tell them outside and then stomp on them when they're not looking. I guess that's the way to do it. Some say it's disrespectful to sleep at the table. Why am I in trouble? Okay, so that's that. A couple of more things. Covering a knife that's on the table before Birkat Hamazon. There's a custom brought in, again, Sefer Chassidim, Shulchan Aruch Harav, Chai Adam, Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, to cover knives that are on the table before Birkat Hamazon. And they give two reasons. First of all, iron, metal, is something which kills, and a Mizbeach, the altar, is something that gives life. That's where we establish our very strong physical connection with Hashem by bringing offerings on the altar in the temple. So it prolongs our lives. Since tables are compared to an altar, the knives, which are an instrument of war, should be covered during Birkat Hamazon. If you remember, the temple itself was built without the use of iron implements because it's a house of peace, and to use warlike implements to build it would not be fitting. There was also an incident reported in Sharei Tshuva and other places where a man was once upon a time in the middle of Birkat Hamazon. When he reached the point where it said, Uvenei Yerushalayim, may please God please rebuild Jerusalem, he was so upset, so distraught over the loss of the temple, the destruction, and the desolation of Jerusalem. He took a knife and it wasn't covered, I guess. Took a knife and stabbed himself sitting there at the table out of anguish. Okay, based on this reason, you should apparently remove the knife from the table completely. In other words, according to this opinion, Ben Ishchai says, Kaf HaChaim says, it's not sufficient just to cover it, because he'll know where it is. So the custom is to just cover it. However, nowadays some have the custom to cover the handle of the knife also. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, the custom is not to cover it, but some do cover it. There's no need to cover the knife for Al Hamicha. If you're saying the shortened form of Birkat Hamazon, the short grace after a snack, you don't have to cover it. A butter knife does not require covering. Nobody's going to stab themselves with a butter knife. But just to be on the safe side, Oz Nidbaru says better cover it. One does not have to cover a plastic knife. As we know, they can barely cut the food, right? Some say the knife should not be visible through the covering, and there you have that. Okay, so we'll talk, now that we've sort of opened the door to talking about blessings, brachas, after before and after the foods, we'll talk about that a little bit, so please join us tomorrow. Have a